what is considered by many as the worst movie in this franchise. First, I'm going to talk to you about a couple things. We will be releasing one of our Halloween specials for this year for Cinema Conversation tomorrow. It's a very special one because we will be filming it in the car on the way to Gatlinburg. I am going to Pigeon Forge for my fall break, and so yeah, we're gonna film it in the car. That's always the kind of feel I wanted to have, a father and son talking in the car about movies. So yeah, that should be fun. Well, let's talk about Halloween Resurrection. It's called Halloween Resurrection, but it is not going to survive from the slaughtering I'm about to give it. It's not going to get resurrected, I'll tell you that much. A lot of people have said this is the worst movie in the series. And boy, does it give Halloween 5 a run for its money. So, yeah, let's just get into it. First off, let's start with the positives. These are the things that I actually do kind of like about the movie and what it does right, though they may be few and far between. I will give it these things because God knows it won't get better. The first thing is, at the beginning scene, there's a guy in a mental institution who's really into, like, serial killers, and he knows history of serial killers like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy. And I actually rather enjoy that. For parts because, it kind of establishes Michael Myers as this, like, celebrity serial killer, if you will, of the ranks of Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer. And, also, what was I gonna say? And, I just like it because it comes in handy when he's, like, rattling off the backstory of Myers. Yes, it seems like for the sole purpose of exposition, but I actually do rather enjoy that part of it. Sort of adds to the mythology and the sort of all-around of Michael Myers. The cinematography and some of the shots are good, especially of the mental institution and of other things. With Michael Myers' shadow and like him walking across and people not knowing, and his just shadows on the wall. Yeah, they're actually rather enjoyable. So yeah, some scene shots make them look a little scary. That's one thing that a lot of people will commend this movie for, and I am one of them, is their excellent replication of the Myers house from the first movie and the second one, I believe. It's not perfect, but it is a drink of Gatorade in a marathon compared to Halloween 5 and partly Halloween 6. It looks rather the same, like from the front and back, but inside, and yeah, it looks pretty much the same inside. There's just a couple things that like aren't architecturally there. Like for example, like it doesn't really look like it did. Obviously it's an abandoned house, but sort of you can see where the rooms are from the first scene in the original of the POV shot. But I still commend this movie, for at least trying, but the fact that they don't really try to tie it into the first movie's POV shot makes me think that they kind of weren't trying, that they were being a little bit disingenuous, oh yeah, the fans will see it because we have a good Myers house, so they just kind of made it look like it on the outside and just didn't care on the inside, but, I could be wrong. And the fall and Halloween feel in this movie is I will say it's a bit of a step up from H2O. Probably because it's actually set in Haddonfield and not some, Woodsboro knockoff. It's got a nice fall small town feel of kids walking around in costumes, trick-or-treating, leaving pumpkins on the Myers house. And some of the shots when they first get to the Myers house of, like, the leaves falling from trees, and It all looks really good. So I will commend this movie for its fall feel. If I guess I guess I'm saying commending a lot. That's just because the things that are good in this movie, they sort of stand out. It's not seeing gold in a pile of turds. It's like maybe seeing something that is slightly better than a turd, uh, for lack of a better analogy. Like seeing a piece of trash in a pile of turds. It's not great. It's not even really good per se, but it's better than what we have. And Myers in this movie can sometimes be pretty scary. Like I said, a good Michael Myers costume is nothing if you don't, light it and frame it the proper way. As I've said. And this movie, for some parts, actually does kind of master the sort of Michael Myers-esque feel. Even if he doesn't always look like he should, which we'll get to. Excuse me. I think the scene near the end, have you ever noticed that, like, there's an hour and a half movie and I've probably already skipped to it and just skipped through all the good stuff in maybe 3 minutes? I don't know. But anyway, the chef character fighting Myers he's not bad. He grabs like 2 knives, he's swinging at him, he grabs like some pepper, and it really shows like his, knowledge of like culinary skills, and he like throws it in his eye, and then he's pinned to the wall like Bob was in the original, but it was still a good fight scene. The idea of like having a house full of cameras and then 2 people texting about where Michael Myers is actually a rather neat idea. It's not, I don't really like it in the 2002 context, but I actually, if somebody were to make like a fan film now of like, somebody stuck in a house of Myers and like they have their little texting on their iPhone, I think that'd actually be a pretty cool sequence. But yeah. This is gonna make a lot of people mad. I think that in some cases, not in all, but in some cases, the underground tunnel under the Myers house could work for where Myers was the entire time. Now, believe me, the idea of underground tunnels under the Myers house is stupid as all get out, but it is a good way of explaining where Michael Myers was for 20 years, And sometimes, some of you guys are really picky about this, like Dave McCrae, for example. I don't know him personally, I wish I did, but he always talks about, like, if Myers was on the loose for 40 years, where does he sleep, where does he eat, where does he go to the bathroom? You never really need to talk about that. Michael Myers doesn't need to be one of those History Channel shows where somebody just survives in the woods, like Dual Survival or Alaskan Bush People. I'm sorry, I don't watch the History Channel. I haven't since like 2015. So, what adds to Michael Myers' mystique is how he can stay on the loose for so long. And, he can, continue to reign terror, because you never really can contain the boogeyman. But the effects in this movie, I can actually appreciate, like, the rat that was almost eaten. I have a thing about rats. A little thing about me, they're like one of my biggest fears. And like seeing a half-eaten rat like scramble for life, just like, ugh, no. And like maybe, and like where he cuts off the girl's head clean off with a knife. It's really cool. I can really I can really, appreciate that about this movie. And lastly is the fire. Though the contents within the fire may be stupid and pointless, the fire itself and how it gets started is actually pretty cool, in my opinion. But yeah, that's about it, guys. So strap in, because it's gonna be like Halloween 5. I ran out of room on a notepad, which has 23 lines. So there was at least 23 things that I didn't like about this 90-minute movie. So let's just get into it. The opening credits of this movie are beyond bland. This series, like it or not, has always had cool opening credits. Whether it be like the first two, or the first one with the pumpkin, or the second one with the skull popping out of the pumpkin, or the fourth one with the opening credits, or the third one with the digital pumpkin, or what have you. These movies have always been able to get innovative with their opening credits, but this movie is not. Don't worry, that's just a documentary my dad's watching. The opening credits, they're just orange text over a black screen. I mean, they couldn't get any less imaginative than that, except for maybe writing in crayon on a piece of printer paper, directed by Rick Rosenthal. Rick Rosenthal's a great director. He directed Halloween 2, what is considered the best movies in the franchise, but a good director can't save a bad film. I'm sorry to say it, guys. So let's just get into it. So Jamie Lee Curtis has an opening narration about, like, at the end of a hall there's a door, and in that door you can either go to heaven or hell, and it's doing playing that old Halloween standard of just trying to sound deep, but failing, and just trying to seem pretentious. I hate that word, but pretentious in a series that never needed to be pretentious. So I don't like it, and I don't know. It sounds like Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't know, has a cold, because she doesn't sound like herself in the opening narration. The nurse and the stupid paramedic retcon. There are a lot of things in this movie that people have in common. It's unanimously decided that this was stupid, and this is one of those things. So let's get into it. So it turns out that Michael Myers was actually not killed at the end of H2O, but a paramedic. The paramedic was put in the jumpsuit, and Michael Myers walked out into the ether. And then the new nurse, is trying to be the audience's voice and say stuff like, why didn't the paramedic say anything? And they say, well, his larynx was crushed. And, his larynx was crushed. People, that's about all we get, There's no explanation as to why he didn't, take off the mask, for one. And, you could say, well, he was so delirious. He was so, out of sorts that he couldn't figure out, he just didn't think about it. Well, think about the movie you're defending, people. Is it really worth it to make up bullcrap excuses for this movie? And the thing I hate about this whole thing, not the exposition dumping by the nurse, and it's not dumping. It's like taking trash cans and buckets of exposition and just putting it in an exposition landfill. No, it's the fact that H2O had a perfect ending. A perfect ending to the franchise, a perfect ending to the series, But Mustafa Akkad or Erwin Yablans or somebody like that had to have some contract where Michael Myers couldn't die on screen, so they had to make some stupid paramedic retcon where Michael Myers did the old switcheroo with somebody else and got away scot-free. Why did Myers even need to do that? If Michael Myers was still alive, then, why couldn't he walk off like in the first film, or even in the second film? How they explain that never found his body, you know. It's beyond dumb to me. I could be talking here for 20 minutes on why I hate it. Why did Michael Myers need to switch clothes? And he say, well, he did it in H6. Well, yeah, it was stupid there too. Well, he did it in, H1. He only did it to get clothes. He had clothes at that point. We're only at the we're not even at the tip of the iceberg. We're like maybe shaving off an ice cube of the iceberg that killed the Titanic. Myers in this movie and his mask, he doesn't look like Michael Myers. He doesn't act like Michael Myers. I did say that he was scary in some shots, but ironically, did you notice a pattern in those scenes? Those were only scenes when he wasn't in frame. His mask looks dumb. He's wearing eyeliner for some reason to give that sort of, maybe they heard you shouldn't see Michael Myers' eyes. That means you don't give him black makeup, you just don't see his eyes. Why does nobody get that? And his hair in the beginning looks like a freaking afro. His mask looks really angry for some reason. And, he's not a compelling Myers. He does things that Myers wouldn't do. Like, for example, there's one scene where Busta Rhymes is, like, yelling at him and hitting him on the head. And then instead of, like, just walking away, or instead of, slashing this guy's head off in one fell swoop, he just kind of walks away. That's something Myers wouldn't do. And that brings me to another thing I'm going to talk about. This doesn't feel like a Halloween movie. Not at all. This feels like a movie that was maybe written for another purpose, and then they're like, can we make this into a Halloween movie? Yeah, and then just shove in Michael Myers when there was ever a chance. It does seem like it's centered around Michael Myers, but believe me, you can make a lot of script changes in a short amount of time. It's all just pretty stupid to me. Myers is maybe the worst Myers in the series. Maybe. He's, sometimes he just stands there with his arms out and his legs spread apart like, I don't even know. And it seems dumb to me. But anyway, getting back to the opening chase scene between Laurie and Michael. So there's a scene in here where he's banging on the door, and it looks like a Microsoft Movie Maker shutter effect of like a banging effect of the footage. It does not look like somebody's banging on the door. It looks like something you'd make in iMovie. And not even a skilled editor in iMovie. Maybe just like somebody who photographs weddings and just is like, oh hey, wouldn't it be cool if we made a little banging effect on this? It may seem like I'm being a little harsh on this movie, but dear me, it deserves it, because it does not care about the Halloween name in the slightest. It's constantly disrespectful to the shape. Ergo, the last thing I talked about with the Michael Myers just walking away and, not killing the guy. But Anyway. So then they get up to the roof, and Laurie has a trap set for him. And Michael does this thing to try to get out of being dead, and he like plays with his mask and stuff like that. That's something that Michael would never do. Let me explain why. That seems like something the Joker would do. That seems like something a Batman villain would do. Is like play with a victim's trauma to try to get out of them killing you. Michael Myers would never do that because Michael Myers is in control of every situation. Like, did you ever see The Dark Knight and the Joker is like hanging upside down on a tall building? And yeah, but as opposed to that movie, this movie sucks. And you know, I never saw it, The Dark Knight, but I can only assume. Just hear me out. I've just never seen it. And I can assume that it's just a way better movie than this. I could assume watching poop drying in the sun for an hour and a half could be better than this, but let's just move on. It just doesn't seem like a Michael Myers thing to do because he is in control of every situation that he is in, and he never needs to play with his victims. But then we get to the pièce de résistance of the things that suck in this movie. Killing off okay, there's a level of sort of important characters. Michael Myers is 1, Dr. Loomis is 2, Laurie Strode is 3. And they killed off Dr. Loomis with an off-screen heart attack, but that lazy writing could only dream of being this. Laurie, after being scammed by Michael, is taken off of the edge of the building and then hanging there with Michael, where he stabs her in the back, and she kisses him. Yeah, she kisses him. That's, you know, Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's tried to do that, where she's like, I love you, brother, which, trust me, we will get to soon enough. But, you know, the thing about that is, you should not show any affection for your brother if he is a serial killer who is trying to murder you for the past 2 years. But anyway, he kisses her, which should be considered incest. I don't know, though. And she tells him, I'll see you in hell. What has Laurie done? Except for maybe, trying to, I don't know, accidentally killing a paramedic under false pretenses. I don't know. I mean, she thought it was Michael Myers. She could have just been killing in self-defense. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I think even I could make that case. And she falls to her death. Laurie Strode, one of the archive Michael Myers Halloween characters in the Hall of Fame, is killed by falling off the edge of a mental institution. Falling to her death. That's it, folks. Was this just done so she would be out of the way? You just had to add her in, and then to your script that wasn't even a Halloween movie, so she could be out of the way for the, you know, great three-dimensional characters that are going to be in the second and third act. Intensive air quotes. So you had to be so disrespectful to this series that a lot of people grew up with and love, just so you could get on with this stupid script. For shame. For shame. But anyway, my camera's also almost out of juice, so we gotta wrap this up. There's a scene in here about the human psyche and this sort of dark impulse we all have. And it seems forced, simply because, like, we had this sort of, you know, mirrored thing in H2O, which actually did work. In this movie, it's really forced. The dialogue is weird. It's really weird. And, you know, I can praise good dialogue, so I can shame bad dialogue. Sort of get my drift. There's a weird guy who starts telling the story of Michael Myers and what he is and who he is, and looks at the girl's underwear that's drying on a clothes rack and screams in a really weird way. Creep. And then we meet Deckard. Deckard is somebody who the main final girl, which is it weird that I can't remember her name? No, it's not. They've been emailing each other over email, I guess, and he wants to see her live stream, and they are kind of a relationship, kind of not, and it's odd. It's odd. I'll give it that. This kid is like in ninth grade, I believe they say, and he's like, it's kind of like we're dating. No, it's not. No, it's not. But anyway, then that's where we meet Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks. In this movie, they're incredibly cringy and annoying, and they almost feel like they're here to be this celebrity appearance. If you thought LL Cool J was forced, Busta Rhymes says, "Hold my Jackie Chan VHS." Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, and they're not good actors. Well, Tyra Banks is, but Busta Rhymes is not, and I will not give him any slack for it. This movie seems incredibly dated with its technology and saying things like, "You're this close to getting voted off the island." What kid in 2020 knows what Survivor is? Of course I do, because I actually got the reference. But yeah, it's weird. And then we get to, and the webcam part of this, the sort of found footage element. Is anybody else getting some like Blair Witch ripoff vibes? Like the Halloween H2O was trying to copy Scream. This one's trying to copy Blair Witch. I don't know. I got that. The characters at points are just very bland and forgettable. One guy's kind of a creep. The other guy's a laid back music student. One of them's some girl's a smart something psych major. As a psych major, name the reference. And they all just kind of feel like stock, bland characters that you don't really care about. And the final girl is the one we're supposed to care about. And as I previously mentioned, I can't even remember her name. And I watched the movie like last night. I can remember Laurie Strode or Sidney Prescott's or Rachel from Halloween 4's name like that, but I cannot for the life of me remember what her name is. At times, this movie does seem slow. Like I said, if you have something else to do after you finish this movie, it's not really going to keep you invested enough to not think about that thing the entire time. So, it just gets slow. It just gets slow. And Halloween movies, like I said, there's blurring the line between suspenseful and slow, and this one kind of is like 20 miles across the border. Just because, if it had good characters like the original and even Halloween 2, then we would be able to sort of more sympathize with these characters and kind of get into the story more, but no, there's not, so we don't. But anyway, like I said, the underground tunnels situation is stupid. The idea that if you watch the original Halloween, all the while some medieval catacombs thing is going on right under that, it makes it hard to believe. And the idea that Mr. Strode, not John Strode, I refuse to accept that guy from Halloween 6 has the same name as the Strodes. But the sort of idea that, it's some sort of catacomb system under that is hard for me to believe. Almost impossible. And yeah, it's a stupid idea through and through. Yep, and then we get to the chase scene, which is just kind of bland. It kind of goes through, it plays the old standards, as I say. She runs upstairs and locks the door and crawls out a window and goes to the roof, and then Michael gets to the roof, and then I can't even remember, kicks him off, and then he gets hung, and then Busta Rhymes comes in, and he freaking drop kicks Michael out a window. Yes, Busta Rhymes drop kicks the boogeyman out a window. And then they say he's not dead. And it seems like he got hanged on an electrical wire. And then they have a fight in the garage with all the wires everywhere. And then a fire starts, where we get the much, 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 much maligned scene as the karate scene, where Busta Rhymes does a freaking whoa, and then kicks Michael Myers, and then he electrocutes his region. I'm trying, folks. I'm trying to, to like this movie more than Halloween 5. And it's like neck and neck for worst of the series. And these stupid decisions are the reason why it makes me want to punch something that they could be so inconsiderate of a franchise that has changed so many people's lives. Just for cheap jokes as Michael Myers, the boogeyman, the Shape, getting electrocuted in the balls. Please excuse my language. I know we might have younger viewers or people who are kind of sensitive to that, so please forgive me. Much obliged. What does that mean? I can't remember. And all these scenes are cool and all, but there was one question that was on my mind the entire time watching this. Why did they not just leave the house? It's not like they were stuck in there like part 4. And there were people around, trick-or-treating. Why not just run out the door, ask a kid for help, maybe go into a house or two, call the police? Not just kind of twiddle your thumbs in a house with a serial killer? I know it's kind of easy to harp on horror movie people making bad ideas. I mean, insurance companies make commercials about it now. Episodes of sitcoms are devoted to people making bad horror movie decisions. I mean, there was a whole episode of Community kind of making fun of what would happen if somebody made a horror movie where the characters made decisions the audience would make. And, and then, we get to the chainsaw scene. Well, that comes before all the things I've talked about, where she comes out and she says, "This is for Jen, this is for somebody, and then for all of them." So cringy. It's the cringiest line with a chainsaw since Do Your Thing, Cuz from Texas Chainsaw 3D. I'm filming this at like 8:15, 8:30 at night. I'm exhausted from this movie. That's really the thing that I can only describe this movie as, is exhausting. It's just so bad, guys. And And, when I reviewed Halloween 5, I had a headache, and I had just woken up early, and I had a lot of things to do that day. So I was kind of low energy throughout that entire thing. But this time, when you review bad movies like this, it'll drain you. Just coming from me. But anyway, the ending where all the police and ambulances and firefighters come. And I can appreciate this movie just like I did Halloween 5 for having the good production value of actually owning these vehicles. As someone who makes short films, all I have is like a cheap light bar that makes like the red and blue flashing. So, and I don't even have that. It's only on my Amazon wish list, so I can appreciate the sort of, feeling of safety that comes with all these police around, and the amount of work that must have gone into that is with uniforms and cars and stuff. It won't go unnoticed by me, but we of course again play the old standard where Michael Myers is taken to a coroner's office where it is looked on by a coroner, of course, and then at the last second, his eyes open. It is bold of this movie to assume that I would want to see any more of this. And I know every other Halloween movie has to have some open-ended ending because the first movie did so well. You know what the first movie did well is actually have Myers be scary and have it be scary that he wasn't there at the end. They didn't just pull some bullcrap Jason's eyes opening, or at the end of Freddy versus Jason, Freddy winking at the camera, he's still alive. No, they just had it be ambiguous. And not this movie ambiguous, not Halloween 6 ambiguous, not Halloween 5 ambiguous, and Halloween 4 ambiguous. God, none of these movies have really mastered this art. They, But anyway, the ending of this movie stinks because his eyes open and it's awful to me. It's awful. So, guys, I can only recommend this under dire circumstances. If you're drunk and you want to have a good laugh, or you want to get drunk and have a good cry, this could work for you if you're a Halloween fan. If you ever feel really bad about yourself, you can watch this movie and, realize that you could be doing a lot worse things. So it's in my mind just disrespectful to what this series is in every meaning of the word. And in my heart, I cannot recommend this movie to you because honestly, I do not want others to suffer the pain of having to sit through 90 minutes of this as I did. So I give Halloween Resurrection a 0.1 out of 5. So the things I liked about it were few and far between. And yeah, I please don't watch this movie. It is not for the faint of heart. Not because it's scary, but because it is bad. So yeah, that's about it. Bye everybody. New episode of Cinema Conversation comes out tomorrow, and I will see you all on the flip side. Hi guys, and I was also sorry about that. I was also cleaning up after filming today and realized I need to tell you this. I will be on hiatus. I'm going on vacation, of course, and so no Halloween reviews until probably when I get back. Maybe Saturday or Sunday, Monday or Tuesday. So yeah, I'll probably be reviewing the Rob Zombie movies next, and then Halloween 2, Halloween 2018, and then on Halloween Day, I will be releasing my ranking of the entire series. So, yeah. Bye.